Good evening, everybody, and welcome. Thank you for coming to our special edition at DMLab Meet the Makers. I'm Gio. I am the DMLab project manager in London. For accessibility reasons, I'm going to offer a brief visual description of myself. I am a white trans femme person, and I have long, dark, curly, wavy hair, and I'm wearing glasses and a green t-shirt and oversized trousers. And speaking of accessibility, which we're really big on at Drake Music, we've got our incredible BSL interpreters tonight, Grace and Petra, which we're very grateful for, and our captioner Heather. On my right-hand side, we got some instruments, some accessible instruments from our collection at Drake Music, which you can use within the gaps. And yeah, in that way, the emergency exits, and then on the corridor, down the corridor, you can find a toilet, accessible toilets as well, and a little information. Also, there's a quiet space, which we can provide. Please do come and talk to me if you need one, or Deborah, my colleague. For those joining us online, please do type in any comment or questions in the chat, because the presenters are going to have a 5-minute Q&A, and same goes for the audience. And then a little bit about the format of this evening. We're going to have 3 presentations. So we're going to start off with 2 of them, and then we're going to have a 15-minute break, and then we're going to have another final presentation, and then we're going to follow with an announcement on our accessible seed funding, and that's going to be made by my colleague Deborah. And so, yeah, as I said in the gaps, please feel free to go and check our accessible instrument collection. And before we crack on with the event, I just wanted to say a big thank you for our funders, City Bridge Foundation and Arts Council England. And first up, we've got Light and Hope Ensemble, and they're joining us online remotely tonight from Egypt. They are an all-blind, women-led orchestra, chamber orchestra, and yeah, they've toured in over 27 countries, so we're really grateful to have them here tonight with us. Please give them a round of applause.
That's good.
Can you listen to my voice? Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Can you see me?
Yes, we can see you as well.
Yes, my name is Nour. I am a violinist at the Nour Amal orchestra, and today I will speak about Nour Amal Music Institute. So let me share the screen for you. Okay. Okay, can you see the screen? Can you see the screen?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Now I will speak about Nour Amal Music Institute. And Nour Amal Music Institute is one of the departments of Nour Amal Association. And Nour Amal Association is a big institution which was established in 1954. The institute itself was established in 1961, and it is the first and only institute which teaches music for the blind girls. Okay, we joined the institute at the age of 7, and we study solfege, which is a theoretical study of music. And we joined the bells band and the junior orchestra and the senior orchestra. And we learn music by teachers from the conservatory. We have been to many countries around the world, about 31 countries around the world. challenges we face if we have challenges, and how can we overcome these challenges. And these challenges, I chose the ones which are related to accessibility. But when we speak about challenges at the Nour Amal Association, we do not have challenges because the association facilitates everything for us. But I speak about the challenges which any blind musician can face while learning music or working in the field of music. The first challenge is how to read the musical sheet. So in the Music Institute, we have a library which writes all the musical scores for us in braille. So we also use technology. We use computers and cell phones, and we listen to the musical pieces on YouTube to know how it is performed. We also read the musical note in braille and memorize it by heart. The conductor also has a very, very important role with us. Because he reads, he listens to us, and he teaches us the musical sheet by the second challenge we can face is learning the musical instruments. So we have teachers from the conservatory, and those teachers use touch instead of, for example, gestures or any sighted clues, visual clues. So they, for example, in the string instruments, they hold our hands, the teacher hold our hands, and teaches us how to, for example, hold the bow, how to move the bow on the string, where is the position of our elbow, for example, and where the bow shouldn't go and should go. So everything we touch the instrument part by part and know everything by touch. Okay, the third challenge is, it is not a challenge, but many people ask us about it, which is how to play together in the orchestra while not seeing the musical scores in front of us. So this point, when we speak about this point, we have to mention the conductor, because the conductor has a very, very important role in this point. He teaches us everything in the rehearsals. So the rehearsals are very, very important for us. He tells us, for example, where to play very fast or allegro, the dynamics, where to play in a loud voice or like forte, or in a very low voice like piano, okay? And he also, as for the tempo, he claps, either claps or beats with the button. He does not use any visual clues with the button, okay? And he doesn't use it in the concert, okay? We are also very, very trained enough to listen to to one another. When we play, everyone listens to the one beside him and to all the players in the orchestra. Okay, the next challenge we face is mobility. How to go from our houses to the Music Institute, and how go from home, for example, to the concert and so on, because especially the concert is a buses. And also they offer boarding for us, and they also provide sighted people who accompany us in the concerts. Okay, the final challenge we face is finding job opportunities. So in the Music Institute, some of us, after graduation from our secondary school, we are obtained general secondary school, and we are obtained also university certificates. Okay, and after graduation and after finishing also the music secondary education, we continue to be musicians in the orchestra, and we also, some of us also work as assistants to the conservatory teachers. So the older generations help the younger generations to develop and to learn and to become better. Also, some of us work in the library to write the musical sheets for us. Finally, we have dreams. We hope to develop the musical library, the music library, to become the first and largest library in the Middle East. We hope to buy music instruments, and we also hope to buy to hire more drivers. We hope to perform more concerts outside Egypt, and to achieve more fame for the orchestra, and we hope to play with other orchestras with well-known figures. So now I will leave you to see to watch a video from our performance. So thank you for listening, and hope you enjoyed the presentation.
That was Light and Hope Ensemble. Thank you, Mavra, for sharing Light and Hope Ensemble with us. Now, does anybody have any questions?
Hello, am I audible?
Hello.
Yes, hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, how are you? Nice to meet you. I'm sorry you can't see me. I was mostly wondering if, I'm assuming you were studying at the institute? You were a student and you finished now, or are you currently still studying? Um, I'm not sure if you can hear me, but I'm going to try asking you again. Are you currently studying or have you finished studying? At,
Now I'm 41 years old. I'm a teacher. I'm beside a member of an orchestra. I'm playing violins. Okay, so I can answer the questions instead of her till she join us again.
okay, that's great. Um,
Okay.
I still haven't asked my question. My question is mostly around while this is happening, what kind of suggestions have you received from students in being able to make the classes more accessible to the students? How have you changed how have you changed the way you've offered classes to the students based on suggestions? Is there anything that's come in?
Okay, I'm not a teacher, but I advise the teachers who teach blind students. They can teach them as any student, but just they use touch. And when there is a musical sheet, they should help them to memorize it. Either by playing it for the student and make him uncle record the musical sheet, for example, record his playing very slowly, for example, or ask someone to write the musical sheet for him in braille. If this is available, this will be very, very better. Or he can also ask him for the or her for the suitable way for him. He can also dictate him the musical score if he can write it.
Okay, yeah, that definitely answers my question. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions? Do we have any questions from the chat? I think we're going to leave it here. Mavra, thank you so much for presenting us a Light Hope Ensemble. We're really pleased to hear all of this. And shall we give them a round of applause? So next up, we're going to have Hugh Aynsley and Miggy Baker. They're going to present their digital accessible music instrument called Tacta. Hugh is a PhD candidate at the University of West England, and Miggy is a disabled and queer writer and performer. And please give them a round of applause, please.
So today we're going to introduce a new instrument called Tacta that we've co-designed over 5 collaborative workshops. There it is. And the basis of the research is looking at how AI tools could be useful for instrument designers and disabled musicians in designing new accessible instruments. So to introduce myself, I'm Hugh Aynsley. I'm in my early 30s, wearing a black t-shirt. I've got black curly hair. And I'm doing I'm a postgraduate researcher at the University of West England, looking at ways to rapidly prototype new instruments. And I put an open call out with Drake Music, and this is where I met Miggy.
Hello, I'm Miggy. I am a white, non-binary person with multicolored hair, and I'm wearing sunflower dungarees. I'm like a performer, creator. I wear lots of different hats, and a musician, and that's why I took the call out.
Great. So to give a bit of an outline, so there's quite a few opportunities and also challenges of using AI tools for designing musical instruments. We've used them at several stages of designing Tacta, and this was through 5 collaborative design workshops, so we'll go through each of those. And we'll share some insights into our experience of using these tools. And we'll finish with a world premiere demo of Tacta. But it also comes with its own challenges, including ethical considerations of these tools, as well as the importance of iterative design, going from a 2D image all the way to a 3D product. So why AI in the first place? So in 2019, the Conference of State Parties to UN and Convention of the Rights of Persons with Disabilities recognized AI has the potential to enhance inclusion, participation, and independence for people with disabilities. This is already present in a lot of technologies, such as assistive communication tools, navigation and maps, but we're really interested to see if it could also be applied to instrument design. This is because it's really good at facilitating bespoke, personalized devices where each user has different requirements based on behavior and context. And ideally, this is also to enable people to design their own instruments rather than designing for people. And this was a bit of a shocking statistic, which has driven the motivation to using AI tools, that only 10% of those who need assistive technology currently have access to it. So I'm looking to develop a procedural process where we can design instruments using AI tools and hopefully enable more people access to music making. So this is all based on AI text-to-image generators. For those who haven't used them, you start with a textual prompt, you put that into the program and it returns an image. So this is an example from a Joy of Sound workshop. And this participant wanted a red musical instrument that's made of chicken nuggets that you play with your elbows. And this was the outcome. So this is where we started the process in workshop 1. So this is Miggy and I's first workshop, and we tried to gain an understanding of your ideal musical instrument. So we went through the instruments of Star Trek, and tried to understand what you liked about musical instruments and how we can build something like this.
Right, so I think from the get-go, we were trying to think about the instruments that I used to play and work from then. So I predominantly used guitar and piano, so keys and strings. So we were looking at those items, and as we were generating images, things looked quite Alien, and that's where the Star Trek stuff came in. That wasn't just off the bat, I want a Star Trek instrument, although I probably would have done that anyway. Yeah, I think from this workshop, I learned that to use AI technology, you have to be able to speak that language, and so you need time to learn that in itself. So that was kind of tricky, trying to work out how to use this technology while actively using it for a purpose. Like, it felt like time was against us a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's interesting because I ran lots of speculative design workshops where the purpose was to create images and it stayed there, but this was the first collaboration where it was part of a pipeline to create something practical. So
yeah, and I think it's an interesting. It's really interesting trying to use AI to make a practical instrument, like a physical, usable thing, especially from an access perspective, because all I want to do is hold the thing and use it immediately. And so trying to think about it nearly in reverse, like what you want it to look like at the end point from the beginning, was an interesting, like, mind boggle.
Yeah, it was interesting. But we did settle on one instrument that we like the look of, this one in the top left. And then the second workshop was about creating craft mock-ups of that design to better understand how Miggy would play the instrument and position buttons in different places. And I think this was more practical for you, wasn't it?
Yes, this was really fun. We got lots of bits of plastic and rubber, and I feel like you went to a junk shop,
Scrap store.
store, and just found bits of foam and plastic that we could work with. And we cut up some pieces and sort of made a shape together of where things might want to be placed in order for them to be usable by me. And there were in particular like these round, plastic, colourful pieces that we were like, well, those are clearly buttons. And so we started working on where the buttons might be useful and things like that. Yeah, I found this side of it really helpful to have something in front of me that we were working with, because then you can work with like the size and shape and how it fits on you and stuff like that.
Yeah, and then we could use it to do air guitar and just kind of understand the mapping strategies between sound and action. So we still had the idea of this AI-generated instrument, but it was kind of moving towards a more tangible place. And then I had this craft mock-up for the rest of the design journey, and it was really useful to take this 2D image into a 3D environment to build the first prototype. So I was creating a 3D model for it to be 3D printed, and I could use the exact positioning of where Miggy placed the buttons that were comfortable for them, and then directly work on top of that. Which resulted in this. This was the first 3D printed instrument made out of 8 parts. It was quite bulky and big, but I think the positioning, it was interesting to physically feel the actual components and the positions of them. And we chopped off the neck, and this is the final prototype. So this is the 4th workshop, and we had 3 trill bars, 7 buttons, 3 potentiometers, controlling synthesized sound. This is the final positioning of the buttons, and during the workshop we were able to work on the software and make edits to the main body of the code using AI tools, which was really useful in order to go back and forth. And then workshop 5, this is where we made the final changes, played and documented the instrument, and basically did what we're going to do now, which is give a bit of a demo.
You're going to have to talk while I do this.
Okay, let's see.
Do you want to talk through?
Sure. So there's 3 trill bars, and they control different parts of the scale, and they're all based in pentatonic, so you can't really play a wrong note as such, theoretically. So you've got low, medium, and high. And then and so the instrument is inspired by like Irish folk music. So there's different scales based on Irish intervals. And to change the chord, we have 7 buttons here. that changes the root of the chord that the trill sensor's in. Nice. And then, yeah, do you want to do the mode? So, nice. Sounding good.
Cool, isn't it?
So yeah, these are working from samples, which is something that we discussed in workshop 4, isn't it? Yep. So we've got 3 samples on there at the moment: 2 guitars and some strings, and a piano. Sorry. And you can pick out individual notes or strum across if you move quickly. It activates the strum. Nice. And then we've got a scale potentiometer where you can change the arrangement of the chords.
I always forget how this bit works.
Yeah, try it on the strum. I think that would be clearer.
Yeah.
Nice. And then, so, yeah, something that you really wanted was to be able to move these trill sensors. And we tried with magnets for a while, but we ended up going with Velcro. But yeah, it's a bit strong. Nope. It's very strong Velcro, basically.
So one thing we didn't include is a stop button,
No.
which
Yeah,
I
classic.
think will get added at some point, because moving this while it's on then makes that sound. But yes, so moving, a big part of this for me is, we missed the bit about why I wanted to. I grew up being a musician. My family are musicians. I have been playing music my whole life in one way or another. My disability, which happened 7 years ago, drastically affected my hand function, which stopped me being able to play music in the way I used to completely. And it very much became like a background thing that I wanted to get back to doing but didn't know how to, sort of thing. And 7 years is a long time, so it's not only now that I can't physically play it, but like I don't really remember a lot about how to, if that makes sense. So getting back into music is kind of scary, even like just there's a mental block there as well as the physical, my physical capacity to play or not play instruments. And so a big part of this when we started was that I didn't really know what I needed it to be like. And so we were trying really hard to make it as adaptable as possible, which is why, so like, as Hugh's saying, the trill board is on Velcro, so it can be moved. The shape is the way it is because we wanted to be able to like put it on a table and use it flat on a table, but also that I could put it in my lap, which I think is in one of the images.
Yeah, so this kind of bend on the right side and, oh, sorry. Do you mind if I get it up for a sec, Rob? Thank you. Yeah, that was one of the main changes between the two prototypes.
Yeah.
And kind of the benefit of printing the first one is that this felt a bit uncomfortable, so we added this kind of notch in there so you can hold it between your legs.
Yeah, the idea I think was originally we were trying to replicate the shape of a guitar because that was like what I was used to. But obviously with disability and like even just in my wheelchair currently, like there isn't space for something that size to be on my lap without it kind of probably falling off. So it's like little adaptations like that. So that's why the shape is the way it is. And the reason the buttons are all along one side is so that if I turn it one way or the other. I can switch which hand is on the chordboard and which hand is in control of the chord changes, because I have one hand that is more dexterous than the other, but that also changes, and so I needed something that could adapt along with my daily changes in my hand function, which I think we did really well on, to be honest.
It changed quite a bit.
It changed a lot,
Yeah.
so to be able to use it in those different ways is really important. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, thank you for giving context. Would you like to play any more?
Yeah.
Or should we? Yeah.
Yeah, I moved it. I was going to show the play.
Yes.
It's off again. I think we may have tripped a wire.
Oh, it might be the other one.
They're not working at all.
Oh, yes. You've done this, yeah.
Nope. That's okay. My point is that this way I can use this hand on the chordboard and I can use my other hand to press buttons. And I think you made a comment on this when I brought this in today, that I actually had put the trill on a sort of diagonal as well. So yeah, that adaptability is really helpful to have those options. Yeah, I think that's all I have to say about the instrument, actually. Oh, wait, no, there's we also added a function on the back, so it could be added to a mic stand, is that right?
Yeah, there's a thread in the bottom, yeah.
Yeah, so again, the idea of it being able to be positioned in different ways, as well as be played in different ways, while still having a fairly baseline function of how you play it, I think has been really, that's been the big outcome of all of this, of making something adaptable while also having it's very clear this is how you play the instrument.
Yeah, it's a fine line.
Very fine line.
Yeah. But hopefully we got somewhere. And I think, yeah, this ties into the insights, I think. So just a few reflections. The AI tools at the moment are quite unpredictable. And so when focusing on accessible focused design, I don't know, there's still a lot of need for human intervention and human approach and changing the design iteratively many times. It's not like we generate an image and then you kind of put it through the pipeline. We wanted customizable and adaptable designs that we could change based on physical feedback. Most of these models are text-based and don't really learn about the physical world. So again, that was kind of the job of the designer and musician. AI tools don't eliminate the need for physical resources and equipment, which is quite obvious, but when generating some of these speculative designs, it's quite easy to imagine them coming into the real world, but you're still limited by the capacities of the available tools. And the AI tools have their own affordances work with them, which is something that I've learned through this process. I've tried to include AI tools at different stages. They've worked really well in some and not so well in others. So I think as instrument designers, it's kind of working with the intention of the tools. So looking to the future, I think AI tools do offer opportunities to facilitate the design and fabrication of bespoke instruments. And they come up with lots of ideas quickly, but there's still need for human intervention to understand their intentions of the musician and create physical representations of those ideas. Any questions? Thank you.
Hello. Can you talk me through the colour scheme and why grey, why yellow, why green and blue? Where did it come from?
Shall I? So I think the colour of the like the body truly was from the very beginning when we were trying to use when I was trying to get used to using AI tools, and Hugh was asking like what materials do you want the object made out of, what colours, and I was just kind of like, I like green, I don't know, that's a colour, and we just kind of got stuck on it. And when we were looking at colours, materials to use for the actual 3D printer, there was this very green, very glittery option, and I like glitter, so here we are. And I think it came out quite a bit lighter than I think we were anticipating as well, which I think might have been a 3D printing. Really, it's just what happens when you 3D print things, the colour changes a bit. But yeah, I love it. I actually have plans to get some doodles and stickers and stuff on it as well, and make it a bit more personalised. Like how people put stickers on their guitars or other instruments, drum kits, I don't know. That's a thing that people do. The buttons was, I think, your idea actually, of them being like in low light, easily visible, like the distinction between. Yeah, just like as a way of separating them out a little bit. Because I think we had another option of a bigger button, but they were all red.
Yeah, although it'd be too close together, and then you'd accidentally trigger two of them.
Yeah, we spent a long time trying to find the right buttons. That meant I wasn't gonna, because especially with this hand, I'm not using a finger, I'm like hitting it, essentially. But it means, yeah, the buttons can't be too close, so I don't hit multiple at once at the same time. And I think that was, the colours were helpful in that as well, of like actually being able to see what I'm doing.
Thank you.
Hello, really like the product that you've really got you through very well. Question, you're using the trill sensors, I noticed. I'm guessing that you've got them connected to some bellas.
Yeah, it's a Bella board, yeah.
So do you have MIDI out? And if not, when are you adding MIDI out?
Did we talk about MIDI out? It was more you wanted to be able to perform it live and have all the sounds built into the instrument, right?
Yeah, I think we were focusing on live, but I just don't think we managed to get that far. We didn't get to that conversation. Absolutely something that will probably end up happening though, because why not?
Yeah. Feature creep, maybe. But
Thank you.
Not to copy him, but love the product.
thank you.
Is this something that you guys have worked on, both of you together, or have you tried handing it over to someone else and to see how intuitively they might be able to pick up the instrument? I mean, have you thought about that yet? Or?
So the process so far has just been me and Hugh, right? Have you shown anyone else?
I've shown people at uni, but not really.
Then yeah, just me and Hugh. I only got access to this a week ago. Like the product as you see it today. I've had it for a week, and in that time I've been very busy. So actually, it's not had that much use yet either. But it's something I'd love to have other people have a go on it. I think you all get an opportunity at the end of this, actually, to have a go on this if you'd like. Because I'd love to, I know that Hugh would love to know as well for his PhD, but I would also like to know how other people fare on it. Especially because we're all at different access capacities anyway, and it'd be interesting for me. I feel like I'm very used to seeing someone maybe that is able-bodied, or at least like has better hand function than me, do something for me to then find my own way of doing it, as opposed to having a product that's made specifically for me. Like, this doesn't happen. This is new. So it's I guess, nice to see the reverse of that happen. So yes, please have a go if that's what you were asking.
No, I was curious about maybe my question is more along the lines of, is this customizable per person, or is this tactile your version? Is there a tactile is it subjective that way, or do you think there are going to be more iterations where it's more universal that works for most people? I'm not sure if I've done a good job at getting my question.
No, I understand. Do you want to answer this?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, my PhD is looking at like a way of developing a procedural system which could, in essence, be replicable with another collaborator. But I'm coming to the end of my PhD and I don't have much time to do another one, but potentially later in life, yeah. But it would be interesting, and also it would be great to share the steps so other people can try and do it themselves also.
My last question would be, how long has this been going on for?
So we had our first workshop in December last year, and then we had our last one 2 weeks ago, so about 6-7 months.
I will say though, as part of that 6-7 months, because we've had 5 sessions in person, and then outside of that, it's been you designing and printing and putting it together, but alongside everything else you're doing. And I think that's important that this was made in 6 or 7 months, but like along with, it wasn't like your main job, it wasn't like something that you were making start to finish right then. And I like the idea that it was being created like as a thing you're doing, as opposed to like, this is your job is to make this instrument. I don't know if I'm explaining myself very well, but just the idea that like it's not like an all-consuming thing, because I think that's part of it, right? The idea that making instruments easier to create, to have, and finding ways of streamlining that process. So yeah.
But I think that, yeah, the space between the workshops actually helped us think about what we're doing and reflect, and then come back quite fresh to the next workshop.
Oh, massively. I think every single workshop was really quite different from each other. And like every time you came in with different ideas, I came in with different ideas. And the sessions were 4 hours?
Yeah, 4 hours. So 5 4-hour workshops.
We had 4 hours to like meet in the middle of all these different new ideas that we had in the meantime. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Thank you.
Hi there. I'm going to be a +1 for MIDI out. I think it's absolutely made for that. Just looking at it and having used hundreds of controllers, that's absolutely going to go big, I think, with that. The other thing is, as somebody who's used a lot of controllers, I can't help, I'm sure you've got an answer for this, but when I look at it, I just see this big expanse of like nothingness in the middle of the design. And I can't, did you think about adding more features there, more knobs or more strips?
Yeah, we thought about having a screen, but then we ended up doing the mapping, so we didn't actually need one, really.
No, I think not having a screen is an asset, really. I don't think that's a problem, but I just felt like part of me is looking at it thinking that's a bit of wasted space there.
Yeah, go for it. But yeah, we go back to the craft mock-up. Yeah. So this was a screen, but apart from that, we kind of kept to the plan.
The space, I think, is actually, the screen kind of came as a secondary to there being space and wanting to put something in that space. I think the space originally is literally there because we were trying to not have something in a place that me trying to use it would mean me hitting other things. And so it was like, I guess, the logistics around that, as opposed to that we're missing something. But I'm not against the idea of there being more gadgets on this. Did you have something specific in mind?
No, it's just that when I look at it, I think, well, you know, and it's quite deep as well. Looking at it from here, I think, well, it's surely, I'm always looking for more things, you know, even if it's like more knobs or buttons or something, especially if there was a future for it as a MIDI out device. More knobs is always going to be better, you know. just for sending CCs or whatever. I think it's got a lot of potential for that. I do think it's a really interesting, positive design. You know, I can see lots of uses for it. I'm also going to ask you about guitar straps as well. Have you thought about putting buttons on it, strap buttons on it?
No, we didn't, no. There's a mic thread in the bottom, so if you had a boom stand, you'd be able to present it in a
I
variety
guess
of
the
ways.
guitar straps aren't particularly useful for me personally because I wouldn't be standing to use it. But I can see that being a good idea to have.
You know, sometimes even playing sitting down, a short strap sometimes can just help you get slightly different. Like if you don't want to support it with your hands.
Yeah, sure.
It can help with that. Anyway, that was...
Yeah, that's a nice
No,
idea.
that's great. Thank you.
Hello.
Hey.
Not to copy again, I also love the instrument. I wanted to ask you about customizability and modularity, because in almost every project, from smartphones to warships, there's this walking line of something that can be everything to everyone, but isn't very good at what it has to do, and something that's hyper-specific. I wanted to ask how you walked that line of something you can customize, because you weren't entirely sure what you wanted, but could still be good at what you needed it to do.
Yeah.
I was literally talking about this 5 minutes before this showcase started. Yes, because this is it. Literally, like the. I think that there is this big problem for me personally as a human being of I want to do all of the things and then you spread yourself too thin and can't do any of them right, and that is something that probably got thrown into this project a little bit because it's mine. But yeah, I totally hear you. And I think, I don't know, I feel like we've done really well in balancing that line, mainly because you made me calm down multiple times. I was like, we could do this. It's like, oh, we could do one thing first. Yeah, I don't know if you have anything to say specifically on...
Yeah, I mean, this instrument is bespoke for you.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, we trying to do one thing well was kind of the intention with this, and for it to be comfortable for Miggy and for them to be able to access all the things they'd like to play.
Yeah. I think also just like from the, like I was saying at the beginning, like because I wasn't really, we're trying to do one thing, but equally I don't really know if that one thing would work for me. I don't know how, how I would have to adapt that in order for it to work for me. And so we tried to keep it a little bit open-ended because of that, and have these like adaptions in place so that if that one thing didn't work out for me and my abilities, that it wasn't useless to me, because that would have been such a shame. And I think there is something around like, as this is my first instrument. This is my first thing, which is really exciting. And I think it's nearly like it's okay if it tries to do a few things and maybe it doesn't do anything perfectly, because that's also how I'm going to be playing it as a new start on something. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. By the way, there's someone online, I think, that wants to ask a question.
Thank you. Yes, Matt online asks, I'm really curious about how having this new instrument is informing Miggy's creative process as a writer.
That's such a lovely question. Within this whole process, it's actually like the fact that we were creating this in itself has made me start writing music again. So that in itself has informed my creative process in the sense that I'm doing it again. So that's great, because I haven't written a new song in a really long time, and I now am. In terms of using the instrument, again, I've had it a week, so we're still very new to this. But I think I was saying this to you. I don't think I've really spent a lot of time with digital instruments ever, including before my injury as well. So it's a brand new type of music that I'm now able to create, and that's really interesting. and I think it's slowing me down a little bit in like how I want things to sound, and I'm having a really nice time just playing with it and seeing what sounds I make and maybe working from there. But yeah, that's the process so far. But I'm hoping it lends to me creating more and more. Because yeah, I mean, literally, like the fact that I'm writing again is a big deal. So that's nice.
Thank you, Miggy and Hugh, for sharing the process of Tactile with us. We're going to wrap up. Please give them a round of applause. Well deserved. Thank you for sharing the process. And next up, we're going to have a 15-minute break, and then we're going to be accompanied by Tom Fox, who's one of our accessible instrument grantees. And in regard to testing out the instruments, I don't know how feasible it is for it to have tactile, being testable at this point. But you might be able to test it even within these 15 minutes as well. See you in 15 minutes. I just want to quickly introduce Tom Fox, who is also one of our accessible instrument grantees. He's going to show us an insight into his highly customized touch-based MIDI controller that he built for musician Tim Paul.
Yep.
And yeah, super excited, super looking forward to seeing that.
Thank you. So yeah, my name's Tom Fox. I need to do an audio description of myself. I'm a early 40s white male with a big ginger beard, stupid man bun hair. My project it's a collaboration with a musician in Sweden. I'll introduce him, well not him, but I'll show you him in a second. But this project, it's very, very highly customizable to him and his specific needs. But the main goal of this project was to come up with a process and some tools to help is just for Tim, the process, and I'm going to explain the process and how some of it works, should hopefully be able to just be picked up and used on other people. So really it's the tool that I've developed is like the key sort of takeaway from this. So this is it's a MIDI controller. So those of you who were here in the last talk, it's definitely got some MIDI going on. And MIDI it's in music terms, it's a way to communicate with the things that actually make the sound. So when we have MIDI keyboards, they don't make sounds, they send messages to some software and the software makes the sound. So that's sort of like MIDI is a communication. That's for some people who don't understand electronic music, MIDI is just a way to send messages. So my name's Tom Fox. I'm an educator. I'm head of design technology at Beechwood Park School up in Hertfordshire. I'm a maker, creative technologist. I'm a creative director for Acoustic, if you've ever heard of us. I'm also CTO for Music Tech Fest Labs, who are based in Sweden. And we do events all around Europe, combining music technology with industry or education or things like accessibility. So I've got over a decade of building cool stuff, and yeah, I keep making more cool stuff, which is quite nice. And Tim Palm, he's a musician, producer, engineer, and artist based in Stockholm in Sweden. And I've known Tim for quite a few years. We worked together on a Creative Labs event in Stockholm University in a decommissioned nuclear reactor site. It was pretty bonkers. And yeah, we've done a few other projects since then. So I know Tim quite well. And I think the next slide is a video of Tim performing. So I'll talk a little bit about my tech in a second, but I want to show you how Tim performs. I never remember the name of his condition, but that's not really important. The important bit is he's a musician, and this is how he performs. Sound. I'm going to pause it here. It's worth checking out his videos and his music. He's incredible. But his primary way to play is using his tongue and his nose on iPads or on keyboards. And he has pretty good control over how he does it. His mobility with his nose and his tongue is phenomenal. I could never do what he does. But it does limit him slightly because to go between instruments, he has to sort of shuffle along, and it sort of can interrupt the flow of his performances. So when the Amazing Drake Music seed funding came up to build a bespoke thing, I knew exactly what I wanted to do for Tim. So I played, and thankfully I got it. And yeah, so I'm going to show you a little bit. So my goal was to build Tim a new controller that he could use with his hands. He has a very limited range of movement. So he does have some control. He doesn't have a lot of reach, so he couldn't play a keyboard properly. So I wanted to build him a small touch-sensitive instrument within his range of movement, so he could control his whole setup using MIDI, so that he could have more control of his performances. This is where one of my projects comes in. So I've developed some hardware called Spoke, and it's a capacitive touch board that can turn any sort of conductive object into a sensor. So you can then either play music or use it as a keyboard, or like a touch keyboard or a mouse or any of those sort of things. I did a Kickstarter for it back in February. That did very well, so it's going to be manufactured very soon. But as a quick demonstration, this is one of my projects. So you can play games. You can use crocodile clips to connect it, and use different materials to play MIDI in different ways as well. So you can code it to just play MIDI notes or chords or arpeggios or even step sequences or all sorts. So it's a tool to make it very adaptable and customizable. So one problem me and Tim had was he's in Sweden and I'm not, and I don't have time to go over to Sweden to do things like measure his range of movement. Oh no, I was going to explain how capacitive touch works. So my board, it uses something called capacitive touch, and I discovered there's a microcontroller called a Raspberry Pi Pico, and there's a way to turn each one of the pins into a capacitive touch sensor using just one resistor, which makes it very cheap. So I'm going to explain how touch sensing works, how capacitive touch sensing works using GIFs. So we start with our chip, and our chip is like the brains of the whole thing. And the brains live in the middle of our controller. And what this chip does, this brain, is it charges up some of its legs. So it's got little legs coming out of it, and some of them are called general purpose in-out pins. And it fills it up with electricity. And what happens is it always has to then drain to ground. So the electricity has to go somewhere. It's like going from one side of the battery to the other side. So it fills up with electricity, then it automatically goes at the speed of light to the other side. That's way too fast. We can't do anything useful if it's just going straight into ground. So when there's nothing in the way to slow it down, we can't do anything with it. So we're charging up this leg, charging up this pin, and the electricity goes straight to ground, and we need to slow it down. So we put something in there, a little resistor, and that slows it down just enough that we can time how long it takes to drain. So we build it up, let it go, and then we time it. So this is all happening on the chip, on the brain at the beginning. And it's exactly the same every time it happens. So every time it charges up, it goes through the resistor and goes into ground at the same time every single time. We can come along as humans, and we can touch our sensor, and it takes a lot longer for it to charge up. So instead of it charging up just the little leg of the chip, it's trying to charge us up and the chip at the same time. So what happens is it takes a lot longer for it to drain to ground. And that's when our chip realizes that something has been touched, because it's taking longer to charge up and go off to ground. And then that's when our chip goes, right, do something. And that's how capacitive touch works with this stuff. I'm very sorry for my interpreter if she had to try and explain all of that. Yeah, I tried to make it simple. So what this means is we can use any kind of object that can build up a charge to turn it into a sensor, which can then play music or control a keyboard or pretend to be a mouse. And that's what we did with Tim. So with the spoke board, you can do quite quick prototyping. It's pretty good for just getting bits of tin foil or conductive paint or bananas or mushrooms or anything that can hold a charge, and just build a quick instrument and test things. One big problem we had with Tim is because he's over in Sweden and I'm not. I tried to explain this earlier, but then I forgot I was going to explain capacitive touch sensing. So what we did is we got Tim to dip his finger in some paint and just press on a piece of paper exactly where he could reach. And that's what he did. So these are his fingerprints, and he took a photo of it next to a ruler. And because of this, I knew not only exactly his range of motion, but also how big his fingerprints are, and how exactly what shape his fingers are. Because obviously, as his fingers go across, they sort of change shape slightly. So this first fingerprint at the bottom, that's what I decided to use as the shape of the sensors, because that's Tim's exact pad. He would be able to press that, and it will be able to register it because it's the exact shape of Tim's fingers. So this process actually was amazing, because it gave me loads of information. It's quite low tech, and it ended up being like the most useful thing of the whole process for me, this finger paint technique. So I took his fingerprints and I turned it into a 3D model, and we came up with some different shapes for his controller, what he wants it to be. I thought maybe that his finger pad actually would rotate and change shape as it goes along. That's why it looked like this. But actually, just the paint was running out as it went, so it had nothing to do with his finger shapes. It was just he needed more paint on his finger. So we didn't do this design. We moved it to this one, and the spacing was a little bit off. They sort of overlapped a bit, and that meant he would probably touch the pads when he didn't mean to. So we spread it out a little bit more. And as we were doing this, we had lots of Zoom talks, and he was trying to explain what he wanted from the controller, what software he was controlling, how we could have more than just 16 buttons. Because the range, he wanted 8 buttons on the bottom and 8 on the top, but he wanted to be able to play more than 16 notes. So we came up with ways in the code that you can scroll through different banks of notes. So he could have a full 88 MIDI note piano on this very small device. I've got a bit of a background in PCB design. So this was what the PCB ended up looking like. It was a bit complex because I decided to be cheap and basically just get the minimum order is 5. So I decided if I have one design for both of them and wire it in a way that I could have multiple sensors, especially spaghetti wires all sort of overlapping. So this is the PCB design. The main, I don't know how techie you, I'll not get too techie. I think if you have techie questions, I can answer that later on. But it basically all goes through a microcontroller, and the microcontroller also controls some lights. So he has visual feedback when he touches a sensor. So he knows exactly what button he's pressed. And those lights are color coded. So I'll show you some videos in a second, but if he wants a different bunch of MIDI notes, he can press a button, the lights will change color, so he knows exactly what scale he's in. So this was the final sort of rendering of his fingerprints as the PCB sensors, with some lights on the top and some sort of additional ones on the sides. And this is it in action. I'll play it here as well, but these types of lights aren't very good with cameras, so I'm going to play these ones. Hopefully the lights will turn up better on these videos. So this was just the first test to make sure that the sensors worked and the lights worked and it sent information to the computer. This one, again, so when you touch the buttons on the side, it will play a different bank of MIDI notes. So you can have an entirely customizable sort of mappings of MIDI. Not you. So the software Tim wanted to actually control, he wanted the notes on the bottom to be momentary on-off. So you press it, it goes on, you let go and it goes off. But the top row, he wanted them to toggle. So if you press it, it will stay on, and then you can wait, and then you press it again, and it turns off. So this, I think, is a video of that. So this one is arpeggiating some MIDI. It's very nice. The great thing about MIDI is the instruments can be whatever you want it to be. So the sound is completely adaptable. And I got, so I sent the boards over to Tim, and he was then really, really busy for a long time and didn't get much of a chance to do much with it. And then I got this video from Tim about 10 minutes before I left to come and do his presentation. So this is one of Tim's reactions to the board.
Yep. My mission has always been to be able to play whatever I want live whenever I want it. I want to be able to be spontaneous. And to do that, I now have a new custom-built controller.
There it is.
Here's how it works. So, when I sing something into the microphone, and press the button at the same time, I can then play my voice. You get the idea. It's gonna be awesome to do live. Woo!
So he likes it. We've got a few changes that we need to make. The top row needs to be actually more stacked up. There's a few little tactile things he wants, like tiny silicon dots between the pads, so he can feel when he's rolling over to a new sensor. But one great thing about Tim is he's also an engineer and he knows how to code. So when we do code adaptations, he understands exactly how to change things. Can we change to the top light over here? So I've got one here. Ooh, the light is not very pretty. So actually, one of the trickiest things was 3D printing the mounting for it. I didn't really think about that too much when I oh no, that's the sound of it disconnecting. 1 second. I've got a dodgy cable and it just disconnected. This is fine, it's the cable. Of course, thank you very much. Come on. Reset devices. Okay. So it's not going to play ball. It was working perfectly all day, and then all of a sudden, it's because you guys are looking at me. It's decided. No. Okay. It's just a micro USB, but okay, that's fine. Okay, my other one's working, just not you. That's fine. It might be better if you want to come see it later on. You saw the videos earlier, but you can come and play with it and experiment with it. I found it actually really fun as well. Oh, thank you. This is where we find out that it's not the cable. It could be the software as well. My software is not very good. Yeah, so this is definitely something I'm going to work with Tim more on, but the steps that we took to build it, using the fingerprints, that was a really, really sort of eye-opening thing, because it meant we could do very quick measurements of like his exact range of motion, and that, there we go. So these lights are not great with, pixels, nice and shiny. Do we even see the color changes? You can kind of see the color changes. So what I'll do, if I do a scale, and then change the scale, and then the top row, if I change my instrument down here and play this, so we can toggle the notes to just stay on and keep playing, and then the bottom ones are still. I found it quite fun to play with as well. It's not for me, but because of the limitations of it and sort of how it's been set up, and Tim's thought really hard about how he wants it to be working. It's actually, I find it quite fun to play with, so I'm probably going to steal some of his ideas for my next creations. So yeah, but this is like the final, not the final version, but one, it's the end of this process. But what I am going to do next with this, because there's always a next step, is come up with some really detailed instructions on how other people can make a version of this for themselves. One thing I have already done as part of my campaign for Spoke, my Kickstarter, is to design this little PCB. Oh, that's glaring. So this one, I'll show it to you here as well. This is, it's a 26-pin capacitive touch MIDI controller that you can attach your own stuff to. So the hardware and the software already works, and it's really easy to use, and it's really easy to code as well, because you can just edit my example code in Notepad, so you don't even need special coding software. You can just open up Notepad, which I've probably got it here. Can you go back to the laptop quickly, and then I'll just show you the code. Cool. So this is my device, and if I open up Notepad, this is the code, and then these numbers down here, if I press that, that should be number 36 over here. If I change 36 to say 50 and hit save, that should now be. So I can change the notes just by editing a couple of numbers in Notepad. Easy peasy. So yeah, so my final get out of this is that it's really hard to make a custom instrument that would fit everybody. It's going to be really hard to make one accessible instrument that everyone can play. So I think by developing the tools to be easier and the hardware and the software to be easier, we can help more people build their own devices. And yeah, that's what I want to try and do. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. That's great, and I love the insight on the coding and also like the use of GIFs, like that's legend. So, unfortunately, we're running a bit over time, so we're going to have 3 minutes for questions. So, with that in mind, does anybody have questions? And I'm sure all of you will.
Hello. It's really cool. I mean, how long was the whole process from start to finish?
Well, it depends how intimate you want to get with it. So I've been working on this with Tim since November or so, but I'm also a full-time teacher, and it was sort of like evenings and weekends and things to get this for Tim. One of these boards, if you know how to solder, you can do it in 20 minutes. Well, I can do that in 20 minutes. And then I'm also coming up with sort of tutorials on how to then build devices like this. So this one here, which is these sort of sensors are just drawing pins connected with like electrical blocks and just held together with hot glue. So depending on your ability, you can make some pretty good instruments in half a day. If you want to get deep into it and do like 3D printing stuff for it or laser cut things, if you have that ability, then obviously you can just build more crazy things. Yeah, so not long.
I suppose the follow-up is, do you have any plans to extend or expand it?
Yeah, definitely. I've got, for the main spoke board is sort of this one, which is being manufactured hopefully next week. But I've left space for it to expand. So those of you who would have used, say, the bare conductive boards before, those ones work similar to this. You would touch it, but then it would say plain MP3 straight from the board. So that my next step for this is to do something similar, but using like an SD card, and it can play samples or WAVs or whatever. But these little connectors, you can also, I've been playing with this loads. I built it and invented it, but I'm still finding new stuff it can do, which is quite exciting. So I've been attaching like distance sensors to it and playing MIDI using distance sensing. I had it controlling a screen as well, so you could press it and then you could see what note you were playing. There's lots more it can do, and I'm really excited to get this into the hands of other people to see what they can do as well. One thing I love doing is getting people to share knowledge and share ideas, and this whole thing is open source as well. So I've got instructions on how to make your own. You don't need this. You can just build your own if you know how. It just makes it easier and simpler.
Thank you.
Did that answer the question? Yeah, cool.
I'll try and keep it quick.
That's fine.
You mentioned in your amazing GIF that it uses capacitive touch, and it's almost like a Boolean in that it's comparing against a known value.
Yeah.
Does that mean that we can't do velocity and aftertouch?
You can in a sort of roundabout way.
Okay. I'll come and ask you later.
So you can. I've been experimenting with velocity, and basically the more your finger pad touches the sensor, the bigger the value it can pick up, and you can then map that to velocity. So with this one down here, I was using it as a drum kit, and the harder I pressed, the more skin touched, and the more capacitance was being sort of measured. So you can kind of get some roundabout velocity. Yeah.
Thank you. Deborah, do we have time for any more questions? No, yeah. So thank you. Let's please give it a round of applause for Tom. And yeah, up next, we're going to have a short presentation from Deborah, who's going to be announcing the accessible instrument seed funding. That's just we just opened our application. I mean, I'll let you talk more about it.
Will do. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name's Deborah. I'm one of the program delivery managers here at Drake Music, and I'm going to be bringing some really exciting news for you today. I'll audio describe myself. I'm a white woman, white Mediterranean woman, as we had a conversation about that earlier today, with dark curly hair, and I'm wearing a denim dress today. So first off, I'll talk a little bit about DMLab, which, of course, as you're here, most of you will know about. It's a space for disabled and non-disabled musicians, technologists, and makers. And the aim is to exchange practices and explore new accessible instruments. It's grown into a beautiful community of people who are passionate about centering accessibility within music. So today we're going to be announcing the next round of Accessible Instrument Seed funding. So DMLab is funded by Citybridge Foundation and also by Arts Council England. And since 2023, we've supported the creation and development of 6 new instruments. Today you've seen 2 of those instruments, of course with Tom Fox, who just presented, and also Hugh, Aynsley and Miggy Barker, who showed us their very, very, very new instrument, week-old instrument. Later on in my presentation, I'll be sharing some info about the other 4 accessible instruments, and we'll tell you a little more about that later. So we want to continue supporting makers with ideas for new accessible instruments, and we're therefore offering 2 seed funding grants of £1,000 each to support these new instruments. It's an incredible chance for innovators and makers to get your ideas out there. Of course, it pays for time for you to explore and understand what it is that you'd like to make, but also to pay any collaborators as well. And you also get a chance to showcase your instrument at one of the future DMLab sessions. Right. So yeah, here we've got a picture from last year's Meet the Makers session. We've got Nicola on the right, Lee and Zen on the left, who's also in the room with us. So nice to see you, Zen, here. Right, so who can apply? You can apply if you are over 18 and if you live in England, as it is funded, of course, by Arts Council England. We welcome applications from everyone. However, as we are a disabled-led organisation, we do prioritise projects that are disabled-led or co-designed with disabled collaborators, as we have seen today, 2 amazing instruments, accessible instruments, co-designed with disabled musicians. Right, so to apply, you'll need to fill in our Equal Opportunities Monitoring form and also fill in a short form. And you can do that in any way you like. So you can use the Microsoft form that exists, but you can also record your responses and send them over. You can film a video of yourself and send them over. And you can also get in touch with us if there's any way we can support you to get that information over to us. The information pack is available in BSL, audio, text, and large text as well. So what's in the form? We'll ask you to introduce yourself briefly, to describe your proposed instrument, to outline the access requirement or requirements that the instrument aims to fulfill. If you'd like to, you can also provide links to your previous work. And if you have any sketches or images of your idea, you can upload those or share those with us as well. Right, so the application's opened today, so all of this info is on our website, drakemusic.org. The deadline for you to submit the information is Sunday, 31st August, so there's about a month's time for you to gather your ideas and share them with us. By Monday, 15 September, we'll let you know if you've been shortlisted. We're also going to be having some short meetings with shortlisted applicants, and these will take place on the 29th of September and 30th of September. And they're not an interview as such, they're just just for our selection panel to ask any follow-up questions and to get to know your work and your instrument a little bit better. And then we'll let you know if you've been selected by Monday, 6th October. If you are selected, you will receive a grant of £1,000 to work on the instrument design between October 2025 and March 2026. You'll need to document your process and share regular updates with us. In fact, the blogs, you'll find the blogs from last year's grantees on our website, but the blogs from this year's round will be shortly going up on our website as well. In a few weeks. And finally, you'll also be invited to share your work at a future DMLab London event, like you have seen today. Right. So before I finish, I'd like to share the other 4 instruments that this grant has funded since 2023. And we're going to kick off with the Calliope by Lee Holder. Lee is a music hacker who works for the Music Works and Music Leaders UK by day, and DJs and creates interactive audiovisual immersive art by night. The Calliope is an accessible instrument designed for Drake Music as part of the Music Works Sound Gadgets initiative. It explores RFID tags and the gamification of music making to engage young, neurodiverse people through play. And you can see some more images on the blog on our website, but here are 2 images of Lee, who is showcasing the Calliope. This is actually at, the photo on the right is actually at our DMLab Meet the Makers last July. Next up is Buffer Live by Nicola Woodham. Nicola has performed and composed electronic music since 2014. Vocals are central to her practice, and she brings in sound, poetry, and free improvisation. Since 2019, she's been designing and building wearable instruments with tactile e-textiles to explore multi-sensory interfaces for playing music. Through the grant, Nicola developed a modular wearable live audio sampler called Buffer Live. The instrument can be coded to explore a variety of frequency preferences, and it is played via soft fabric sensors that are responsive to pressure and contact. And again, here are two photos of Buffer Live. On the right, Nicola showcasing it last year at the Meet the Maker session. And on the left, it is placed on a, is that called a mannequin? Yes, on a mannequin, with all the cables that are tied to the e-textiles that Nicola uses. And next up is the PhotoSynth 4D by designer Zen, who is with us. We're very lucky that you're with us in the room today. So please, correct me if I say anything that's not quite right. It's a holographic musical instrument that, by observing and learning from your movements, enhances them with radical new musical superpowers. Zen has been on a relentless 25-year mission, bringing colourful sound solutions into everybody's worlds. The PhotoSynth 4D was recently exhibited along with other accessible instruments by Drake Music at the Royal Society Summer Science exhibition earlier this month. And it's also up for a Miggy Award, which closes, is it on the 4th of August? Okay, so do get voting. The website is midi.org, and you can vote for the PhotoSynth 4D. Which category is it in, Zen? So the beta software section, and the other category is the Royal Society installations events. Okay, so there are two categories where you can vote for the PhotoSynth 4D. And finally, some photos of the PhotoSynth 4D in action. And I believe this one, the one on the left, was taken at Meet the Makers, but I could be wrong. And yeah, finally, the last instrument is Midas by Hunaid Nagaira, and this is from this year. So when I say this year, it's been Hunaid has been working on it since 2024 to 2025. Hunaid is a designer, technologist, and illustrator based in London. He loves building things which make everyday life joyful, and Midas is an adaptive, wearable controller that transforms any object or surface into a uniquely calibrated musical interface. We're really lucky because Hunaid will be sharing Midas at our next DMLab session, which is on Monday, 22nd September. So you can come along to that, and Hunaid will be able to share similarly to Tom and Hugh and Miggy sharing today. So do come along to that session. And yeah, I'm happy to take, well, we've run over, but we can take one or two questions in the room, but if you want to think about it or know anyone who might find this opportunity useful, they can always email me at the address that's on the screen, which is info@drakemusic.org. But I just want to check if there are any questions in the room before we finish.
Sorry, it's always me. Are these limited to hardware instruments, or are software instruments also considered?
That's a very interesting question. I will need to find out that answer for you, unless one of my colleagues knows the answer to that. We have been. Yes, so my colleague Rob is saying we've been open to software instruments in the past. So as long as it has an accessibility focus, then we would be open to it.
Thank you.
Any more questions from the room? And I'll quickly go over to YouTube just to make sure. Sorry, you get to see all my tabs. If you have any questions on YouTube, you can either put them here or email me at info@drakemusic.org. Yes. So another instrument that Drake Music has worked on is previously, and in collaboration with John Kelly, is the Kellycaster, which is also up for a MIDI award, and the category is non-commercial hardware. So that's, you're not in competing categories, are you? So do get voting. And we have another one. Yeah, that's what I meant. So Spoke is also on the MIDI awards. Which category? The same as John. So we're voting for the Kellycaster, we're voting for Spoke, and we're voting for Photosynth 4D. Yes. Oh, 3 in each category. Awesome. Wow, amazing. Aren't you lucky? I think that's it. Thank you, everybody. And I'll hand over to Gio.
Well, I'm just going to echo what Deborah's been saying. Thank you, everyone, for coming here this evening. We also have a evaluation forum that we're going to share the QR code of in a second. I would really appreciate you taking the time, if you can, to fill it out and give us feedback on today's event. And yeah, we hope you had a really great time with us, and looking forward to seeing you on September 22nd. Yeah. Thank you.